Hello everyone, it is Linda Benn, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you to a long-term friend of mine called Donny Regalmuto. Now, Donny is the founder of the Black Swan Temple and the mystical alchemy, which I'll let Donny explain more about. And Donny and I first met back in 2010 when I first moved to California, and he was one of the first people that I met when I landed. So he's been a wonderful friend for many years and very supportive. And so today he's going to share all his wonderful wisdom and knowledge with you. And he's very experienced, over 30 years in the music industry, but more spiritual events and ceremonies and dance and tantric pujas, and providing music for everyone who attends these events. And then him and his partner, Heather Salmon, created the Black Swan Mystery School, which offers teachings of the Essene sevenfold path of peace, as well as the ritual, magic, off the path of Isis and other paths of light and truth. And I'll let Donny explain more about that. And then he also holds retreats for people to come and do yoga, and incorporates a lot of other modalities like NLP, hypnotherapy, timeline, and emotional freedom technique, and thought field techniques. So they're bringing a lot. Him and Heather both have a swag of different modalities that they offer people. So welcome, Donny. It is an absolute pleasure to see you and to, be connected, even though it's on the internet. But it's lovely to see you again, and thank you.
Seems like there's a lot of Zoom going on these days.
Definitely. So tell me more about how you got started with the Black Swan Mystery School, and also your story and the offerings of the Essene sevenfold path. That's something I'm sure a lot of listeners have never heard about. So can you go deeper into explaining what that is and how that can help transform and heal people?
Sure, that's easy. Well, I met my partner, Heather Salmon, back around 2011. And at that time, she was already doing sound healing, and she had just become ordained under the Temple of Isis in California. And a year later, I became ordained under the Temple of Isis as well. So I became a minister, and we started doing sound healing together at Harbin Hot Springs. And a year later, we moved back to Maui and started doing sound healing over all around the island here. And we would go back on tour to the mainland and did sound healing from Mexico to Washington, just traveled around. And that was kind of the beginning, getting back to the Black Swan Temple and the mystical alchemy. The Black Swan Temple Mystery School, we have a mystery school. We've ordained a few dozen people over the last 10 years or 9 years. And, the first thing we like to inspire people is to find their path. Why is it do you want to be a minister? Through all the people that have been ordained, they always find something unique that they want to be of service towards. Some of them have become musical healers. Some of them have made sacred objects and promoted those. Some of them have done ceremony or drumming. Some of them have done healing elixirs. They just found something that they wanted to bring their spiritual path into and offer it up to the humanity. And I think that's important, whether you're a minister or not. It's important to find a way to be of service. And by doing such, it touches a part of your heart where you've really have a much more complete sense of offering for the world, because the world needs us. There's no shortage of there's no shortage of souls out there, and yet there's very few Gandhis or Christ conscious or Buddhas or the great healers out there, and yet we are all healers in our own way. We're all divine beings, and yet people often forget that, or they don't step into that. And it's really important to recognize that part within you, that omnipotent, omnipresent, divine divinity that really can step into your power and be anything that you put your mind into, providing you're willing to do the work.
Exactly.
Of course, whether, anything anything that you invest your time into, you can get something back out of. If you want to become a doctor, it takes quite a few years to invest your time into it. If you want to become a sound healer, it takes time and learning. So the point is that it's really important for us all to find ways of which we can really find inspiration in things that make us alive. So often people get degrees in things only to discover that it doesn't really make them happy. And yet sometimes they do find things that really make them happy. And that's the purpose of our lives, is to find things that bring happiness to our life. And getting back to our mystery school, people have been ordained, and they find that purpose, they find that connection, and they find this. I mean, we present the spiritual tools to help them really get closer to how to empower themselves, how to empower their practices, how to empower the room and the souls around them, so that they all can be really active ministers in their ministry.
Mhm.
And the sevenfold path of peace. A lot of people say that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were actually Essene ministers. I mean, they had their own thing going on way before Christianity was ever created. I mean, Christianity came, years and years later. And of course, it really got indoctrinated into the world once the Roman Emperor Constantine developed it as his personal religion for Rome, which really shifted the Christian consciousness before that. But Christ was not necessarily a Christian; he was an Essene, and he practiced the sevenfold path of peace, which is peace with the mind, peace with the body, peace with yourself, peace with your spirits, peace with your family, peace with others. And it's a very simple, very, very basic practice. And I'm
Can you
sure.
explain more about the practice, or is this going too deep into your teachings, or are you able to put it in like a little package of
Well,
explanation?
yeah, it's how to have peace with yourself, how to have peace with others, how to have peace with your body, how to have peace with your life.
Mhm.
And
Which is so important, and that's what so many people are searching for. Because it's like when you ask people, what do you want? And so many people still say, I just want to be happy. So then some part of them is unhappy or not at peace with their mind, their body, why they're here and their purpose. And so this is
absolutely.
critical.
I mean, we all have things that make us happy, and we all have things that don't make us happy,
Mhm.
and trying to find that balance within ourselves is for the most part, a never-ending struggle. I can say even for myself, it's a constant awakening and reopening and connecting to things that really nurture my soul, and trying to evolve out of things that don't nurture my soul. So through all this, Heather and I, we do well, not only do we have our mystery school, we also do a yoga practice where we bring people in on retreat, and they learn, they, they do aerial yoga in yoga, and we feed them a plant-based diet for breakfast and lunch. And and we open them up to the magical mysteries of Hawaii, because we both live on Maui.
Beautiful.
And
One of my favorite islands.
absolutely my favorite island.
Yes.
And um, we used to, before COVID, have hundreds of people that would come through. And I would say, every one of them, our motto was always to have you leave better than when we got you. Some people came for more rest, some people came for adventure, some people came for spiritual growth, some people, obviously, everybody came for yoga. And it's been an incredible opportunity for souls around the world. We get people from around the world who show up and get their yoga practice on. And during that time, Heather offers a session. We both offer sessions to every client. So I offer either a nonviolent communication, hypnotherapy, or life coaching. And I call my life coaching mystical alchemy reminder. To
I
remind us,
love that.
yeah,
Yes.
because
Reminding them who they already are, but they've just forgotten. And so they're remembering
yes,
who they are. And so that's perfect.
and to remember means to remember into that body of knowledge that we all have inside of us. I'm a big believer of the guru, which is the GURU. A lot of people are looking for all these external teachers, and yet the most incredible teacher you have is yourself. Of course, teachers can inspire you, and it's great to be inspired by others, but you don't want to lean on them and think that they're the source of wisdom, because the real wisdom is inside of you.
Right.
And in today's age, we all have, at least a bulk of humanity's got cell phones and the internet, and we're at an information age where there's so much information available. It's like unbelievable. Back in the day, if you wanted spirituality 100 years ago, you'd have to find a church or take a boat to Rome or go to the Himalayas. I mean, it was just an incredible, huge, expenditure of time and energy, where now you can get on your phone and ask spiritual questions and get millions of answers, of course. Maybe not all the ones you want. And, you have to still practice discernment, of course, because that's just the way Google or all the internet is. It's so much information. Mm-hmm. It's kind of daunting and overwhelming. But there's plenty for those who are, but I remember one of my favorite teachers was Jesus. And he said, ask and you shall receive, and seek and you shall find. If you got to ask to get the answers. And if you don't look, you're not going to find it. So that being said, in today's world, especially, I'm 57, so I remember before internet, before cell phones and all this stuff, in today's world, you'd have to go to the library. Now the Vatican library is at your phone. So it's like there's so much information, so much resources, yet we have to go out there and get them. Just like, the Zoom calls are a resource for people.
Absolutely. And also be willing. Be willing to go out and learn and put your hand up and go, okay, I am open, I'm willing to receive, and then seek and you shall find. So.
Absolutely. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to do the work.
Exactly.
I always say the secret to having it all is or the secret to having anything is to know that you already have it. Mm-hmm. You have to believe to receive. Yeah. And, having done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of life coaching sessions, I always say the biggest problem that practically everybody has, myself included, is learning to get out of my own way. It's not the government's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's really, how do we get out of our own way? Because we're only as good as our story. Mm-hmm. So, if your story says, if life's good, or let's say, if you believe you can, you're right. Yes. If you believe you can't, you're right. So you got to really, I always tell people, you got to really pay attention to the stories you have and eradicate the ones that aren't working for you.
Exactly. Delete. So, yeah. So couple of things. And I do want to go back to how you started, though. What do people come to you? What's the main thing they come to you searching for, asking for? So all the people that you have come across and helped on their path, what do you see as the biggest thing that people are searching for?
Self-healing and relaxation. You know, in today's world, people are really
Stress.
stressed. Yeah, overwhelmed with stress. So people come on yoga retreats to relax and do self-healing. And with that, sometimes they're in need of dietary change or inspiration in their diet. Heather and I we have a cookbook out, and we do gourmet vegetarian meals. And we were doing gourmet vegetarian meals before we had a cookbook, and people were begging for a cookbook. So we finally, during COVID, we said, okay, well, now we've got time to put it together.
Right, yeah.
Put it together. So hundreds of copies of it already.
Fantastic. What's it called?
What is it called?
Cookbook by
World,
Donny.
yeah, World Fusion Plant-Based, plant-based recipes.
I love it. I love it. I'll add that after our interview. So
Yes.
share the link with that.
Sure.
So Donny, how did you get started? I know you've been in the industry for the last 30 years. So how did you get started on this path, and what's your story?
Well, I've been playing music since my teenage days, and I am a vivid palmist, and I recognized when I was a teenager that my destiny was to heal the world with music. And the more I've done that, the more I've really been a musician, the happier I was, and the less I was a musician, the more miserable I got. And when I met Heather back in 2011, I had kind of a falling out with the music, and she was doing sound healing, and I recognized I had been producing records for almost a couple dozen years, and I was a natural new age artist. I had also done new age recordings for other people and myself as well. So it was a real natural fit. She was playing crystal singing bowls, and she liked to work with musicians, and I really gave a lot of bling to that whole setup. And I love to sing, and it was just a real natural combination of this. I mean, because I was already a new age musician or new age music producer, it became a real natural fit for me to plug into something that was already very new agey, hypnotherapy orientated, sound healing. Sound healing is a magical modality, just like new age music's a magical modality, and sound healing just takes it to another step. So it was just a natural fit for me. I really have loved and enjoyed working with her. It was a match made in heaven,
Absolutely, because you both complement each other, and coming together as partners and as a team, you've just enhanced both of everything you've done. You've just taken it to another level, because music is for the soul. When you hear music, it's like the sound vibration feeds every cell in your body, and so people underestimate the music. And actually Dr. Emoto, when he did the water experiment, he also did an experiment on the music and how the molecular structure changed in the water depending on the type of music. So those that have never heard of Dr. Emoto, you can go on Google and just see the pictures of the heavy metal music versus the more classical music. And so sound healing has always been so beneficial, because every cell in your body is listening and it's alive, and the more you can just keep feeding it that beautiful music 24/7, if you listen to, have it playing in the background, it's like it just helps the body to hum along and stay at those high vibrations and frequencies energetically.
Well, frequency plays such a big part in our world. I mean, everything's a frequency, whether it be infrared or, there's this vast, we only see a very small portion through our eyes of what frequency of color and light, and sound is another frequency. We don't see it, but we hear it. And sound is one of those things that can be incredibly frightening, or it can be incredibly soothing. It can be incredibly irritating, or it can bring us to an incredible place of harmony. I mean, the variety is infinite with sounds, and the sounds we choose, being that a lot of us have record players or cassette players or iPod players, or all these different varieties of forms of musical or replication that can put it out to our headphones or put it out to our speakers, makes a big difference. And when you're young and rebellious, sometimes you like to listen to heavy metal, and because you got the rebel thing going on. And then as people get older, they tend to listen to more mellow music, and tend to, not always, but my point is that sound can be an incredible medicine.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of experiments going on where people are healing themselves with sound. And it's a powerful modality. I think sound healing was something that's been done it's not something that's being invented now. It's been going on for thousands of years.
Absolutely.
Whether we're using crystal singing bowls, or they're using metal things, sound has been it's been a great activator. I mean, people have used it in war, people have used it in healing, people have used it in music, people have used it for dance for thousands of years. So it's been a part of our lives. And yet the more that we really take advantage of it and utilize it in a way that's healing us, all the more better. And sound healing, like I said, it's been around a long time, but it's having a resurgence. When we came to Maui, we were the only sound healers on the island, and now there's got to be a dozen at least. So it's really grown in the last 10 years, amazingly so. And I think it's going to have even more of a resurgence. I mean, it's kind of like, I think sound healing today is kind of like yoga was 20 years ago.
Good. Well, it was 20 years ago that I was actually a distributor for the sound healing cassettes. And it was all to heal tinnitus. So anyone who had tinnitus, or children with ADD or ADHD, or they'd listen to the music through these cassettes, and that would actually help to reverse whatever the symptoms were and reverse tinnitus.
Wow.
So yeah, I've still got all the books and everything sitting in my garage if anyone wants them.
Cassettes are falling out of favor these days.
Oh, yes.
Some people still might have them in their car, but very few.
Yeah, the cassettes have gone, though. Well, they actually resisted for a while whether to change over to the digital, because some of the quality they lost, going from the cassette to the CD. And
right.
So, but I think that I'm not doing that anymore, but I think that they had to go, digital, because to keep up with the times.
Right. Well, having been a music producer for 30 years, there was always, back in the day when it was analog and digital came out, there was a huge, big, argument between the analog and the digital people, what was better and what was worse. And I love digital. I think it sounds better. It's easier. There's certainly a lot to be said about the curves, but it's digital's oversampled so much. There's such a quality in it, with the lack of sound distortion that you get out of analog. Were they using binaural in your recordings or subliminal? I mean, what?
I think it was subliminal.
Subliminal. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to listen to it with headphones on.
Okay.
So that was, so it's working both sides of the brain. And
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity with subliminal. There's a lot of opportunity with hypnotherapy. There's the whole binaural, isochronic. There's all kinds of different formats of sound healing out there, or ways of working with sound in people's voice as well, like hypnotherapy.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. So, Donny, what would you consider your superpower? If you had
Well,
to name just one, what do you consider your superpower?
that's an interesting question. I love music,
Yeah,
and
it's part of who you are.
yeah, it's been something that's been close to my life for 90% of my life, and it's it's the real. It's what brings the joy in my life. When I get an opportunity to play, I can set mood. I can set, um, I put out a vibration with my music that can be very healing. At least I believe that, and that's the feedback I get from people. Heather and I have, like, over a couple dozen CDs that we've done, and it's for anything from finding your divine mate to relieving stress and anxiety to um, different chakra healings, and it's there's so much of a variety of modalities that we can play with that provide people real inspiration. you know
Exactly.
Sound healing is a very inspiring modality of which people can really tap into, plug into, and get good results from.
And really it's what they resonate with. They'll be guided to whatever modality that resonates with them, what they need at the time, depending on what they're going through, or the level of trauma, or whatever story they're running, or whatever where the energy is blocked. I mean, music is a way of opening that up and getting the energy flowing again.
Yeah, whether it be medicine, I mean, there's such a variety of souls out there, and not everything works for everybody. You know, and you got to pick your flavors of what works and avoid the things that don't work for you. It's like, I mean, there's no perfect food. There's no food that everybody likes. There's always people that like it. Just like music, there's no music that everybody likes. You know, and even in medicine, there's no medicine that works for everybody. It works for hopefully a large percentage, which makes it more effective, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And like whether you're using the doctors to heal you, or using natural ways to heal you, or using food to heal you, or sound to heal you, there's some modality that your body is going to resonate with, that's going to work if you really invest into that.
Yeah. So what's one super tip that you can share with all the listeners out there for their healing journey, regardless of what they're going through? What's one thing that you can offer?
I would say, find your purpose, discover what your destiny is. Journal. It's very important to have a journal.
Mhm.
One who fails to plan plans to fail. So it's important to get clear about what it is that you want, so that you can get there, so you can magnetize yourself forward in that direction. A lot of people spend their life discovering what they don't want in order to find what they want. And that's one way to do it, but it's very time consuming. The more clearer you are, the more specific you are about what you want, the more the specific results you get.
Mm.
So, that's where journaling can be very magical. Um, being very clear about what it is that you want and where you want to go. So it just speeds up the whole process.
Exactly. Being intentional and putting that energy and those words out there and those thoughts out there, and then you're more likely to attract it.
Well, it's amazing. You write it down, even if, in an optimal, I mean, it would be really nice if we wrote down a question and got a 10-page download, and that's not necessarily going to happen, but just the sheer art of it's like Jesus said, asking you shall receive, just asking it. And, you're on the street, you bump into somebody, or you click something on the internet, or you get that phone call. It's just, we are all such magnetic beings that when we put this out to the universe, it comes back.
Yes.
And magic happens. I would say, you got to believe in magic for it to happen. If you don't believe in magic, well, then you're not going to get much magic in your life.
Exactly. And miracles happen.
Yeah.
So believe in the miracle and just focus on the miracle that you choose to happen and just put your energy into that.
Absolutely.
And because we're so connected as one, this is the magic of humanity and shifting consciousness, mass consciousness on the planet, how we can change the energy and vibration on the planet together when we all focus together to bring heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And it's not about being better, worse. We're all one. We're all just at different parts of the ladder, but it's not higher or lower. We're all humans living I always like to say we're perfectly imperfect experience here to figure out why it is that we're here, what it is we're here to do. And the more that we do that, the happier we are. And when we're not doing that, we can be a little frustrated, but there's magic to be had if you believe in magic.
Exactly. And something I just said, I think it was on a Facebook Live the other day, is just appreciate the beauty around you, regardless where you live. Find something that you appreciate, that you're grateful for. Appreciate the birds, the trees, the grass, or fresh air, whatever it is. It's, so simple. And just be in that state of gratitude. And the fact that we're here, we're alive, is a blessing and something to be grateful for.
I'm a big, in our kitchen, it says gratitude is the attitude.
I love it. I love it.
If there's one thing in life that'll help you steer away from your troubles is finding great, things to be grateful for. Because in every, I don't know how this will sound, but I always say our job is to take our shit and turn it into compost, because we can grow something beautiful out of everything that comes our way, providing that we, work it and spin it around and turn it into something beautiful. We don't want to wallow in our problems or our troubles. It doesn't help.
Well, it doesn't make us feel good either.
No.
So what's a morning routine, or a morning and a nighttime, or a daily routine that you and Heather do that maybe it would be helpful for listeners to adopt some of these ideas?
Well, I can say that, this morning we got up, Heather fed the cats, we cleaned up, getting ready for a yoga class. We started at 9 o'clock, we did a yoga class. I try to do a little yoga before the class, because I play music during the class, and I play music during the sound healing. And then Heather and I cooked lunch together. And then I did 2 sessions after that for the clients that were here. And normally Heather and I like to do a sauna and a hot tub every night, and we have some chlorella to detox the heavy metals.
Yeah.
Try to eat really good, really yummy vegetarian food.
Do you grow your own veggies?
We do grow a lot of veggies. We've got a couple of acres of land, so we have super big gardens, but we've got a lot of kale and greens and avocados, and we just harvested a beautiful pineapple.
Wow. Awesome.
Star fruits, and we have quite a bit of fruit, not as much as I'd like to. We just planted a bunch of fruit trees. We do lemons and citrus and oranges and things like that.
And you've lived on Maui for several years now, prior to...
Yes, since 1983.
Wow.
And then after the financial crisis, I was in California for 3 years, where I met my beloved.
Right. And that's when I also met you, when I arrived. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Maui is one of my very favorite islands. It's so beautiful. And I remember the last time I was there, the whales were there, and I was underwater and
No,
just
these are right now.
listening. Yes, they are. It's a yes. Because this was March, and so just listening to them sing, and it was like, oh, just leave me underwater and just I'll be happy. I'll just turn into a mermaid and just leave me here. Just so gorgeous. Yeah.
There's a record amount of whales here at the moment. We've been very blessed. You know, a few years back, it was like 10% of the population showed up that normally was here. We're like, wow, what happened to the whales?
Wow.
No one really figured out what happened to them. They didn't come for some reason, and they're back in style now.
Beautiful.
We
So
were out last week, and we must have saw 30, 40 whales.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's definitely, you know, living here, or if you're visiting here and you're here for whale season, it's one of those have-to things. You know, we like to go out at least a couple times a year just to tune into the greatness of these magnificent beings.
Highly conscious advanced souls, whales and dolphins.
Yep.
Just absolutely magnificent. Yeah. Yeah. So what's a closing thought that you'd like to close with? A tip for people, an idea for people, a takeaway? What would you like to share?
I said that the mystical alchemist gives up on blame and excuses and laziness and focuses on diligence and visualization. You know, the mystical alchemist has no regrets because everything has been a teacher in your life, and we accept as truth that we are completely in control of our lives. That you know, we are the ones who are making this outside world happen. You know, a lot of people think that what's happening on the outside of the world is what's causing their mind to react. And the mystical alchemist recognizes as the exact opposite. It's what's happening here is what's creating all this outside stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's important to figure out what your story is, get rid of the stories that don't serve you, and keep weeding out the limited beliefs that you might be going through. Big fan of hypnotherapy and EFTs, you know, all these different modalities it can be very helpful. And, you know, NLP, all that stuff is wonderful therapies.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're all the things in my toolkit as well, which I share with people. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Donny. It is so wonderful to reconnect with you, or even though it's online. It will be in person again one day soon. And thank you so much for sharing. Before we go, please share your website and how people can get in touch with you. And okay. I'll also add it to the show notes underneath our recording too.
It's blackswantemple.org.
Easy.
Yeah. And the other one that's the same is mysticalalchemy.org as well.
Beautiful. So that's where people can get your other details or send you a message and
absolutely
join.
And we're on Facebook and all that. You know, my wife is much more social media orientated than I am. So we've got a Instagram account and all that fun stuff.
That's a good balance.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Donny. It's been
thank you. God bless you, Linda.
Pleasure. Yeah. Thank you. Much love.
Love.
Thank you. Thank you. Love back. Bye.